Hello and welcome to this COMP3218 game design and development video from the University of Southampton. Today we're going to be looking at some more of our students' courseworks. My name is Tom Blount, I am one of the lecturers on the course, and I am joined here today by...
And I'm Dave Miller, I'm also one of the lecturers on the course.
Fab. Dave, could you tell us a little bit about what we asked the students to do for this coursework?
Yeah, sure. So for this one we asked the students to create a short game that had a clear core dynamic and also had some sort of tutorial element that would teach you how to play the game.
Brilliant. All right, let's jump right into our first game. Okay, and our first game is Reset. So no title screen for this one. We are thrown straight into it. So
straight in. Yeah.
Where are we?
Quite a nice pixel art.
I am Tutorial Bear. I will be your guide through this perilous world. So nice little bit of dialogue. Let's get started and see what you've got. WSD to move. Okay, nice little shuffle.
Yep.
I guess we just follow the path, I guess. I was kind of expecting it to go for another tutorial bit. I don't know where to go up there. So we've got some stuff on the top left of the screen. We've apparently got 30 arrows and we've got 0 orbs.
And no coins.
Oh, coins, yeah, of course. Alright, here we've got a big flashy red thing. Do you think the red thing is a good thing or a bad thing?
I have absolutely no idea. It looks like it's in your path to collect it.
Okay, we've collected an ability. There are colourful orbs all throughout the world. Abilities improve movement, attacks, and much more. See for yourself. I do feel a bit speedier.
Yeah.
There's a barrier. You've got space to punch the barrier. Keep punching the barrier. Punch.
Okay, so Tutorial Bear is earning his stripes.
Okay, nice little what's the word? Animation showing. Okay, I was about to say, well, this is water. Clearly, I can't go in water, but no, we can swim.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe we're wading. I'm not sure. Okay, another orb.
I like the water effect for the water squares.
Yeah, you don't seem to be a very fast swimmer. However, the ability we've got changes that. Now we can swim much faster. Okie doke. Small red objects are fruit. Minor and temporary speed boost. I'm not noticing a huge speed boost there. This is a pixie. It will teleport you to a random location. It might be good, it might be bad. Okay.
Oh, there's the pixie. I didn't see the pixie before the text came up, so I wonder what it was talking about. So it's a slight shame that pixie is a slightly different style than the rest of it.
Somebody obvious, I think. So, okay, interesting. So, traders will sell us things, but some might be thieves. How do we know? If we got... Try collecting those coins by... Okay. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Buy an ability for 5 coins? Sure. More speed. Okey-doke. Got some arrows. Take this bow. Hit the white target blocks. Press F to shoot. What white target block? Oh, there we go. Ooh.
Oh.
I was about to say, oh no, something's gone wrong. I think it might be deliberate. Okay, so terminal error. Reset occurring.
Oh.
Flip, alright. That's quite a big level. Something has gone very wrong. We need to get out before this all collapses. Get to the rocket ship.
Pardon? What rocket ship?
So when the camera panned over, there was a little rocket ship. Although it went a little bit. We didn't get we got a sense of the scale of the level, but not necessarily. Oh, that's a trap. What did the trap damage our?
Oh, that's oh, I see.
Is that our health?
So your time is running.
Or I was expecting the clock face to move, but no, it's a bar. Ow.
No, I was as well. But there's a bar there dropping down.
That snake looks.
Yeah, looks bad.
A little bit interesting. Okay.
I think you're about to run out of time.
I am.
And then it will reset, presumably. Reset. Okay. Okay. So they've gone with a kind of classic sort of minute setup.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you get those abilities and explore the world. Eventually you'll be able to get to the exit. Nice. Alright. I'm going to be interested to see if they pulled this off. It's quite hard to get these right.
Yeah, so I like that it sort of starts off as like a, you know, typical like tutorial. Here's how you go around. Here's how you do this thing, and then sort of within the context of it, you get this. Oh no, something's gone horribly wrong, and they tutorialize the actual like unique selling point.
So it does make so it makes the traders quite important, isn't it? Because your main objective, I guess, for these first runs is to improve yourself.
But a bit of the problem is, okay, so we need a punching ability. Ooh, there's a clock there. There's a punching ability. I would like that, please. One-time ability. Oh, it's a one-time ability.
Rage.
Okay, so this is kind of interesting. So I was
once per
going to
reset.
say they've taught us like all of the mechanics at the start. They've front-loaded us with a lot of stuff we have to remember.
Yeah.
But here they're actually showing us some more stuff as and when it becomes necessary. Once per reset. I don't think I'm going to get much chance to use it. Break barriers fast. Activate by pressing P. Interesting. Like P for punch, right? Ah, missed.
Yeah.
Alright.
So, but you'll still have it on the next reset.
I don't know if I do.
Yeah.
Have we got an indication?
Yeah, it says you get once per reset, listen. So I don't think there's anything on the screen that shows you've got it. I think it's still there.
So the pixie's kind of interesting to me. Like, I don't know.
The pixie.
It just randomly teleports you somewhere onto the map. Okay, that's effectively just an impassable. Like, I don't.
What is this? What's going on with the snake?
Well, I mean, they're just monsters that take time away from you. But can I?
They just slow you down.
I was about to say, like, I can't punch the monsters. I totally forgot that I had a bow and arrow.
So there's the trader.
Oh, so it's F to fire, right? I haven't got enough coins for that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, no, that. I was about to say, oh yeah, they're even red and white, just like the target. But so what's the bow and arrow for, if not for the snake?
No, I don't know. God, use your P.
I did. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Although
Did it work?
Buy an ability for 5 coins. Thanks for the gold. So okay, so he's just taken my money and not given me anything. So I've just wasted like 3 loops worth of gold.
But that's why they don't give you a flag. Presumably that trader will always take your money, so you have to remember not to use that trader.
I'm not very good at
So it's all part of the, you know, because the basic gameplay loop here is you come in, you explore, you learn a little bit of the level, and you gradually learn how not to make mistakes.
Yeah, so it's about like memorizing the layout and the routes. And again, this is why I feel those pixies are maybe like sort of go against that, right?
So those
because they
pixies
randomise it.
Well, are they actually random, or is it just it's not clear where they'll send you, but the same pixie will always send you to the same place?
That's a good question. If I find another one, I will let you know. Oh, there it. I don't think we've been here before. Ooh.
No, I don't think we have.
That looks like a power up for my bow.
There's a bit more time, is it? Nice.
So we've got a maze in this bit.
Yeah. So I do like the variety of mechanics they've got here with the temporary speed ups, the punching to get through things, the kind of the enemies to slow you down. The bow and arrow we still haven't really found a reason for. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd assume it's for the snakes, but
The little time extender. You've got traps.
Okay.
You've got the water, which slows you down. It's got swim ability. Yeah, they've got quite a bit going on.
Can I go this way? Yeah, and I like that, you know, you build up your... Like, there's kind of the roguelite feel to it. Like, I know it's not actually procedurally generated, but every loop you're hopefully getting a little bit more power that lets you get a little bit further in the next loop.
And exploring a bit further and getting a sense where you're going. So there's an orb up there. I don't know if you can get in there.
Yeah, I couldn't see a route in.
I still don't quite get what the snakes are for. They just slow you down, right?
Well, they don't slow you down. I think they take away your health, but health is equivalent to time. Like the bear traps. So if I... yeah.
Yeah. Got you. Enough time.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to read
So do the things you punch through, do they say down when your next run through?
I don't think so.
They all reset, isn't it?
Was there a power up here that I got last time? Okay, let's...
Yeah. It's quite generous with the time as well. When you run out of time, it actually gives you about another 5 seconds, I think. It's
That's kind of... So again, that's sort of like a little developer trick of making it look like you've got... Now, so this guy robbed from me last... Let's see if he will do it every
This was
time.
the... yeah, go on then.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. So don't get him. Yeah.
Because otherwise we're just farm gold that's nearby.
Should we
the
start?
I guess. Yeah, let's.
While you're exploring, should we start having a think through the criteria? So first up, we've got presentation, with one or two minor quibbles. The difference in look and feel is generally pretty good, right? I mean, I think the art's very effective. There's some nice information design. It's quite clear.
Mostly,
and you've got quite a few music effects.
Is that a bad thing? Let's say it's a good thing. Okay, no, that's a bad thing. They didn't teach us about those things. Mostly it's good. I think some things like, for example, these impassable rocks and these path rocks are a little bit too similar. There's a few times where that pixie definitely sends me to a different place every time. It's not always super clear what's a barrier and what's not. Like, even the water I thought was... Like, if there hadn't been the water in the tutorial, I definitely would have just assumed it was impassable.
Yeah.
So it's good that it was in the tutorial, but overall, yeah.
So my feeling is that it's sort of professional, but probably not impactful. So we've got a complete set of things going on, and they work basically. But I wouldn't say they're appealing. There's a few little niggles about them, so that would put them at the good level, I think.
Yeah. I guess, hang on, but we should also mention just generally audio and information design. So we've got a nice little, well, nice might be stretching it. We've got some background music. We've got some lovely.
It's all here, right? I mean, and we've got some proper audio effects. We've got I think they've done a good job. In fact, I don't know. Maybe it's halfway between that and good and excellent. I mean, everything is in place, even down to the some of the little actual design things, like the tutorial bear popping up at the bottom and the reset screen and all the rest of it.
That is true. I think that there's still maybe a few things like in the information design that could be improved, but yeah.
Okay, so this one's really for you. This is meaningful play. So you're the one playing it. So, how would you describe it? You seem engaged with it, at least.
It's definitely engaging. I'm definitely finding a lot to do. I don't know if this is just because of I don't know how I personally am finding the mechanic, but I'm finding it a little bit frustrating to like run around with not much idea of where I'm going. Like, to an extent, that is sort of by design, right? You're supposed to go around and try and remember the level. Yeah. And I think partly just because I'm having to talk about a marks criteria as I'm doing that, I'm struggling to remember where I've been already. But like the fact that the pixies can just randomly teleport you places seems to run a bit counter to that.
Yeah.
But overall, like mechanically, they've got like quite a wide set of mechanics. So they've got the abilities, they've got different traps, they've got the punching, they've got the arrows, which still seem to be not super helpful.
Yeah. No, I still haven't quite figured out what they're for, and I haven't seen any bugs or anything. So, I mean, a good would be engaging. Multiple mechanics, smooth controls, reasonable complexity. May have minor bugs, but so we haven't seen them here. So I do feel it's definitely at that level. So the question is it fun? Have you got a set of complementary mechanics? Is there higher complexity?
Almost. I think this is like I'm not finding myself deliberately like searching or deliberately using these abilities. Like the abilities they're giving me are all passive ones, which means every time I just sort of run around blindly and hope that I run into something new with the extra speed that I've got. Like the fact that as far as I can tell, all of the abilities have just been, you either walk faster or you run faster. And we found the punching thing, although that hasn't seemed to do anything.
It would have been nice to get a more dramatic ability that totally changed your engagement with the level. And if they managed to have, say, 2 of those, that would have given the game a real sense of pacing as you gain those abilities and change the way you interact with the level and unlock new spaces and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
I
can't speak for games like...
Perhaps we say that...
I was going to say, I can't speak for games like Minute, but things like, the Legend of Zelda or Metroidvania or whatnot, you unlock a new way of... It's not just you can move through the level faster, it's now you can unlock that door with your boomerang or your grappling hook or whatever.
That's right, yeah. You kind of... So for that reason, I think perhaps the meaningful play is at the good level, but still...
But it's still good,
Still good, yeah. Alright, well, let's talk about the level design, because this is kind of interesting, because instead of being a sequence of levels, we effectively have a series of ways of interacting with a map that changes over time, right? It's a bit more difficult. So here we're talking about goals, risks and rewards, and we're talking about pacing. So if we talk about goals, risks and rewards first, what's your goal?
Goal is get to the spaceship, but the sort of like minor goals within that are maybe a bit more clear. This is sort of goes back to what I was saying about running around blindly and hoping that I find something helpful, rather than going, okay, I know the rocket's behind this door, so I need to find a thing to get me through this door. I know the key to get me through that door is behind this, and so on.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So there's like a more of a sequential set of things that you were planning. It does feel a bit more random than that, doesn't it? I also noticed that they haven't shown the rocket again. So for me, I actually missed the rocket when they showed the whole level. I don't know whether I was just glancing away from the screen for a second, but I didn't see the rocket, so I've got no idea where the rocket is, and they haven't shown it to you since.
That's it. I could be into. I think it's somewhere to the right side, but
yeah. So I mean, I think the goal. I mean, they clearly made an attempt to make it clear, but we both know what you're trying to do. We've just got a few niggles about it, but that's fairly clear. What about risks and rewards?
Again, it's this sort of exploratory randomness, I'm going to sort of somewhat generously call it. Means that I don't have a plan, therefore I don't feel like I'm risking anything. It's not like a case of if I try and get through this, I'll waste my time, but maybe find something that can help me next time around. It's just a case of, well, I'm going to try and get as far as I can, and maybe I'll find something along the way. I get, like, in a sense, there's like these giant fences, and it's a case of, okay, do I want to spend time bashing through those, or do I want to try and find something?
That's what I was going to say. There's it's kind of it's inherent to this type of game, right? Where even without designing it explicitly, you're always making decisions about, do I spend time, you said, battering through these things? Do I make my way through this maze, or I'm better off doing something else instead?
I would say the
I think
speed
again the
powers
problem
are actually making it a bit harder to control.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think so. What I really took from what you said though was that what you're missing here is the kind of the planning. That there's perhaps a little bit too randomness to your interaction with the level,
or even something like a map that fills out as I play would be like super helpful to me, because I can't remember which abilities I've picked up, so I could spend an entire loop like desperately smashing through all of these barriers and then find out that I actually already picked up that ability.
So my gut feeling is that satisfactory would be a coherent set of goals, risks, and rewards, right? And I kind of think we do have that, right? We know what the goal is, and you are making decisions all the time as you're playing as to what's the most effective use of the time on this run. But good would be a clear and coherent set, and I think that clarity is the problem, because you're not planning ahead, because we're not kind of having the chance to check again where we're going. That, to me, it doesn't quite meet that criteria.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say.
So that takes us on to pacing.
I guess going back to the information design just for a moment, I do like that they have some of these paths just to give you an indication of maybe where you should go.
Yes, that's true, actually. Do you feel that that's what they're doing then?
Maybe.
Are they leading you through?
I'm still compulsively picking up these arrows despite not needing them.
Can we use them for traps, maybe?
Maybe.
But what's that thing?
I can't actually fire my arrows anymore. I should still have 35 of them. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there's one.
I'm gonna try and trade.
Okay, let's talk about pacing, because I think that's going to be interesting for this. So no, he steals for you.
Okay, it still steals.
Yeah.
Pacing, yeah. So
what we're looking for is tension rising over time, but in a kind of pattern where you get almost like a beat of tension, where it gets more difficult and then eases off, and then gets more difficult and gradually rises over time to some kind of final kind of point of the game. Do you feel that you're getting that?
I don't. Okay, it does. Wait, I lost time because I destroyed that trap with my bow and arrow.
Okay.
Let's see if I can do that again. I kind of don't. I feel like they probably have made an attempt to, as they're designing the level, sort of make it more interesting, more challenging as you get further out from where you start. But I'm not getting, I'm not noticing it. I feel like they must have tried to do that, but I'm not getting a sense for it. Like a lot of the, in a way, they've kind of done it with the environmental design of different regions.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. So again, it's that thing about planning, isn't it? Because the reason there's a lack of tension is because you're not really trying to achieve anything on any particular run, right? You're just sort of exploring and going as far as you can and trying to pick stuff up. So there's no inherent tension of, I'm going to make it, and should I do this or not, or how am I going to interact with it? So yeah, I mean, so for pacing, a satisfactory would be tension clearly rises over time, and a pass would be that tension somewhat rises over time.
Ooh, I was going to say, because there is some.
That feels more like.
I was going to say there's some inherent tension in the, hopefully at least every time you're like, I'm getting closer and closer to the goal. Maybe next time I'll make it. So there is something there.
Yeah.
But it's not as clear as I think they would like it to be.
No. Again, I think it's because of the planning element and the sort of the feeling of randomness. So I think that would put it at a pass level. Tension somewhat rises over time. So if we think about the tutorial, so we had tutorial cat, if you remember.
In fact, can I?
I mean, I think that worked quite well, didn't it? You had a whole level where you got used to the controls, where they weren't introducing the time loop, and they were doing it gradually. You were finding stuff as you needed it, effectively.
Yeah, there were a few moments,
and then you moved into the main game. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I think there were a few moments where you said the tutorial message popped up before you'd actually seen the thing they were talking about. But other than that, they introduced everything nice and gradually.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
so
okay.
The one thing I'm wondering about though. Oh, what was that?
So if I shoot a trap, I still lose time. So the one use arrow seemed to have, it doesn't actually help me. So maybe that's a bug.
It doesn't help you. Yeah. So what I was going to say is what I don't think we saw in the tutorial was actually using level design to teach you teach you the elements, right?
No, they're all very much spelled
They
out.
they definitely, which you know, and at the appropriate time. So the level is supporting what they're telling you, but it's not teaching you.
Yes.
So a good would be gradual explanation of gameplay and controls fully aligned with play. And excellent would be the same, but sometimes communicated through level design. So my feeling is that they're at the good level.
Yeah, I
You know,
definitely
they've done a good job of. Okay. So, do you actually feel, just as an aside, when you're playing it, are you getting further every time? Do you feel like you are exploring further?
I think I might be, but I also feel like a lot of the time I'm sort of ending up like backtracking and sort of ending up back where I started, just because I haven't been able to memorize the levels so much.
Yeah.
There's something, although there's something new, so I definitely.
So So what do you think their core dynamic? What do you think they thought their core dynamic is?
Ooh, that's a good question, actually. It could be exploration, because you're constantly having to like find the next thing or find the path out.
Yeah.
It could be race to the end, because we've obviously got a very strong ticking clock motivation. I don't know. What have they said, and how have they justified it?
So they've gone for exploration. And they've said the main objective of the game is to progress through the world until you reach your end goal, which can only be achieved through exploration of the map. And the path to the end is not linear or clear, and to win the game you're required to explore many paths to find the route to the end. And I think they're right. I think you said exploration is your first one, and that would be my go-to as well. You know, very clearly this is the main thing you're trying to do here is explore in order to you know, find your way to the rocket ship.
Yeah, I think that the exploration is the fun bit of this game. Like every time I find a new power up, I'm like, ooh, excellent! Like this is new. What is this? Yeah.
So I actually think they've done this quite nicely, because there's also quite a strong collection going on, right? But it's very, very clearly in service to the exploration. Right, you're collecting stuff in order to help you explore further.
Yeah, absolutely.
To unlock new things. So I think they've actually done pretty well with this. So a good would be a clear core dynamic that is supported by the primary mechanics, and I think you've definitely got that. And an excellent would be a clear core dynamic that's supported by an integrated set of mechanics. And I think there's enough going on with the mechanics. We still haven't figured out what the
I think
shooting the arrow is for.
I think this thing
and I think both of us felt there was still something missing a little bit on the mechanics.
That collection aspect could really be more supported by, you know, unlocking new ways of exploring rather than just being able to explore faster.
A prizeworthy would be an integrated set of mechanics and other dynamics. So I think what we have here is they've actually got the other dynamic going on. Right? They've got the collection thing that's really clearly working. But maybe they haven't properly integrated. So I think kind of what we should probably do is say, well, that we can give them an excellent as a kind of average between the good and the prizeworthy.
Yeah,
excellent aspect. So I think they've done well. Right, and that takes us on to feedback. So the feedback they said they got was about their core dynamic, and they said they were wavering between having a collection or exploration.
There we go.
And they had certain things such as a collection percentage, which would sort of, you know, give you a menu to track all the abilities that you found, and they were going to do that to sort of reinforce the collection dynamic. But after feedback, they determined that they should concentrate on exploration and remove those elements as they didn't contribute. So that's a really interesting one.
So I think they're right in that it emphasised that dynamic, but I think overall it may have actually been a little better. Like it would. No, it's not the knowing which abilities I have. It's knowing where they are. That's the issue that I'm having.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think they made the right decision now. I think if they'd have listed, you know, if they'd have said, well, your speed is currently, you know, 50 out of 80.
But
I think they're right. But the point is, it would have then given you a clue that there was more speed to collect in the map somewhere.
But so
it might have given you an incentive.
I think I agree with you in that removing it was a good move, but a better move would have been to replace it rather than, you know, like 3 out of 5 power-ups collected. like tell me where the ones I've collected are, so I don't go back that way, which gives me more direction in my exploration.
So the other thing they did was they said they spent a lot of time improving the tutorial, which they were recommended to do. So creating a separate tutorial map and implementing a dialogue to walk them through the world. That's where tutorial bear comes from. And their loud feedback was that some paths may not be clear to the player, so they added path blocks as well to incentivize the player to travel in a certain direction, which you picked up on. And in playtesting, they received some feedback that the game felt a bit too much like walking around, and they didn't understand what they're supposed to be doing. So to improve that, they added the panning scene from the end goal to the current position to provide a glimpse of the target and to support this with dialogue. Which both of which, though, all three of those things I think work really well. So I think the little tutorial level at the beginning and tutorial bear, I think he's a really nice little. Not quite sure how he fits in thematically, but it works. It takes you through it. I think that the paths work well. You mentioned about the paths, kind of giving you an incentive and a bit of a clue as to where to go. And I think that the panning worked well as well. In fact, our criticism was that we needed a bit more of that. Right?
Yeah.
That we still, once you've played the game for 15 minutes or so, you've kind of forgotten. And actually, the ability to get a bit of a bird's eye view might have been quite useful. So yeah, I think that they've actually. So good would be feedback has been addressed and the changes were successful, and I think that's true. Excellent would be that feedback was addressed and the changes have been sort of interpreted successfully, and I think that they're certainly there. I think with the tutorial bit and the extra level and everything. And I think, so I think there's an argument, and the others as well interpreted it fairly well. So I think there's an argument that their feedback is excellent, actually.
I think you're probably right. I think there's some of the changes that they've made. In fact, all of the changes that they made have been positive. I think some of them they could have gone even further. But overall,
yeah, exactly. It's not that it's not that they don't work. It's that they just could have done more. But yeah, so yeah. All in all, I know we haven't quite made our way to the rocket yet, but
I feel like I got close that time.
I mean, that's part of the problem, right? Is you don't actually know how far away you are from the rocket.
Yeah.
But overall, I really like this. I think it's a difficult game to get right, and they've got quite a lot going on. And for the most part, it's very effective and works pretty well. And I think our criticisms of it are mainly about to create that sense of tension and purpose. Really, there has to be a little bit more planning that the player is doing, and that means you need to give them a bit more guidance, and perhaps you need to have a bit more kind of staged progression through the level, rather than this more gradual progression. But yeah, I think they've done a good job.
Okie doke, let's move on to the next one. Okay, and this is Space Hopper. So, nice little title screen.
Okay, so
nice. I'm loving the music.
Yeah,
the music's great. We've got one button to press. Let's press the button. Okie doke, select a level. Nice. Tutorial.
I always like it when they give this option.
Oh, it's thinking. Greetings, pilot. We need you to navigate the ship back to the space station. Okay, I thought there was going to be more text there because that was a comma. But unfortunately,
yes,
I'm always a bit nervous of click. So, ideally, if I click, it's going to just fill out the rest of the text. But I don't want it to. Oh, thank you, Duolingo. Right. Brilliant. Unfortunately, it seems that your ship has taken some damage and can only travel short distances at a time. Luckily, it does. Brilliant. Luckily, there are a good amount of planets and asteroids.
That's where you should have stopped off. Okay.
There are a few supply stations on the way. Planning your route. So this is quite a lot of text to introduce us to this, but it's thematic. Help repair your ship to ease your journey back.
I think it doesn't help that it comes on quite slowly as well, so it feels like it's taking a long time.
Okay, so we got a nice little.
Okay. So You got like a mini map and a
Yeah, and we've got, I assume these are outlines, but that's quite small there. But okay, so click and drag.
and then it's turned into
arrow.
Oh, okay. And you sort of propel your ship around, do you?
So there's a.
That's interesting.
I assume that's the supply station they mentioned, so let's aim for that. Oh, okay. We don't continue travelling. We run out of momentum quite fast, so we've got to go from planet to planet.
That's well known as a problem in space. There we go. All right.
Okay, so I think when I saw these in like some of the early labs, this was very much like golf but on platforms. So it's interesting that they've reskinned it as spaceships and planets, because it meant immediately I wasn't necessarily expecting the mechanics to work as they did.
Yeah.
But remembering how it worked initially, there we go. So we've got to effectively balance our ship on top of the planet.
How do you know that you've landed successfully on the planet?
Sorry, say again?
How do you know you've successfully landed on the planet?
Because we don't fall into space and have to reset our shot, I think.
So
Quickly,
so it resets it.
I'm actually going to drop the sound a little bit more, so we can definitely hear Dave. There we go. And can I go this way? Well, see, I've overshot it this time, and unless I get to the space station, hey, I did.
Oh, you got to that one. There you are. Yeah, it's okay. That's interesting. So yeah, they've gone for sort of golf with spaceships.
Do you reckon I can get to that one over there? Ooh, so it's very difficult to judge. So here's the thing.
Did you make it? You did.
Did I?
You did
just barely. I thought I got two.
So this is kind of what I was getting. This is kind of what I was getting with, really. Is like there's the main part of this game is whether you land or not on a platform, and that seems to be a little bit ambiguous to me. It's like, well, are you on the platform or not? And as far as I can tell,
there is a little audio cue, like a little ding, if you land successfully.
Okay.
But it's mostly just that you don't.
I don't think I can hear that. So.
Don't worry, I'm sure that you will be able to see what happens when I fail any second. So there we go. So I've overshot this one, and I fall into space. I get reset back here, and I lose life. So here's the thing, though. My little power meter, right, doesn't reach that planet, but I definitely overshot that planet. So it's not a direct guide, but it also means that. No. So in mini golf or whatever, if you get your shot wrong, you just bounce back, and maybe you end up in a bunker or under a windmill or whatever. You don't fall off into the void and have to take the shot from the same place.
Yeah.
Which makes it a little.
Yeah, that's an interesting difference. Because do you think is that important part of what makes that fun? Is that you end up in difficult positions?
I also don't seem to be able to take a lower powered shot, because if I end my click over my sprite, it cancels it rather than going a little bit. How?
Oh, really? Okay.
Which is a little bit of a problem, because it means that's the shortest.
I reckon you can make that with a big one.
So the other question is, what use is the minimap? On the one hand, it's kind of nice because we can sort of plan out. Okay, I'll go here and then here.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment you don't need it for planning.
Yeah, maybe in later levels. There you go. Next level. I didn't get any gold hexagons at the top there, so maybe I was under par. It'd be nice to know what par for each level was, but I guess that doesn't really fit into the.
I was going to say, is there a scoring mechanism here? Is there anything going on? I can't.
Hang on, we've got a branching path here, so now suddenly the minimap is useful. So we've got a branch this way, and then I think that's a power space station, and I think this is just a new asteroid. So we want to go to the right, I assume.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there any kind of score or any kind of value on the screen? I can't see anything.
I can't see on the screen. I feel like there probably is. Ooh.
Yeah.
No. overshot it.
So you got 3 lives, but you could pick. They did, but they had a collectible life, right? There was a chance for you to pick up a life. Yeah. So it feels. At the moment, it feels a little bit linear. It feels like they should have maybe doing a little bit more with the routes.
That's interesting. I got the success noise and the fail noise on that asteroid.
Okay.
Let's try that again. Yes. So, I mean, here there is like a different route. Although, because we've got the mini-map, interestingly, it means we can look at it and go, this is definitely the better route. Oh, interesting. I lost a heart and still ended... Okay, so maybe there's a little bit of a bug in determining whether we're there or not. Because I lost a life, but I got reset to the thing that I wanted to land on.
Yeah. Well, while you're making your way through, should we make a start on the criteria?
Yeah, let's.
So, presentation. It's very serviceable, isn't it? It looks fairly consistent. You've got some music going on and some sound effects going on. You've got, maybe with the information design, as we were talking about, the kind of the hidden score or the par. Maybe that would have been nice to see or to have visualized. I guess we'll talk about that a bit more when we get to goals. But the lives are clear. The map is there. It's kind of useful.
Oh, come on! I was over that.
So for me, satisfactory would be something that's described as workable, perhaps with a few inconsistencies. I think it's better than that. Good would be professional, complete, and effective. And it kind of feels at that level. Higher than that would have to be impactful. I don't kind of feel it quite achieves that.
Yes. I don't know whether this is maybe a criticism of the mechanics or the information design, but it is very difficult to judge some of these shots. Because I am struggling to gauge exactly how much power this much power will give me, or rather how much distance this much power will give me.
Well, I guess that takes us nicely to meaningful play, right?
Yeah.
So it looks playable. You're definitely playing it.
And here's actually a really nice example of meaningful play, right? Which is slightly hampered by this information problem we're having. I do actually have an interesting choice here. Do I go for this space station over here that's further away, but will give me a power-up and will get me closer to my goal ultimately in fewer shots? Or do I try and play it safe, go for the shorter shot? The problem is the shorter shot isn't necessarily safer, partly because the target is quite small, and partly because, again, I don't have this problem of judging exactly how far a shot's going to take me. Hey, there we go.
Yeah. So, like I said, it feels. I mean, you're the one playing it, but from looking at you, it looks like it's playable.
Yes.
Right.
I got hexagon.
I'm not sure. Is it engaging? So for engaging, we're looking for multiple mechanics, smooth controls, and reasonable complexity. I wonder whether we're lacking some of that complexity.
Mechanics wise, we've got the shots, we've got the 2 different types of power ups. But if we're comparing this to a mini golf or a crazy golf game, like moving platforms or other obstacles or a sand trap or something like that, something that hinders movement and then is a choice for us to move around. So they've definitely tried to set up some sort of interesting choices in the layout of the level. Yeah. So I guess it's probably easier to land on this long boy than some of the smaller ones. Yeah. But I don't think they've got a fully integrated and complex set of mechanics there.
So, I mean, you're talking about choices. I guess that leads us nicely to the level design and the risks and rewards element and the goal. So the goal's fairly clear, which is you've got to get across to the space station. Although the problem is we don't know how many shots you're supposed to take, or really what the consequences of.
I mean, maybe it's maybe we're not being judged on shots, right? I'm making the golf comparison, but they haven't done that. That's all me. So maybe it is just get there with as many hearts left. So maybe I should be playing it more safe than. And I think that's the problem. Right? That's the lack of clarity in the goal. We're not sure what we're being scored on, so we don't know whether we should be risking things or not.
Yeah. So it could be speed as well. It could be the amount of time it takes you.
Yeah. So I was about to say, like, of these two paths we've been given here, which do you think is the riskier one, or the more rewarding one?
Yeah. So I'm guessing. Well, the left one's more rewarding, right? Because you've got a station.
Yeah. Does it?
But it doesn't look.
I
doesn't
guess
look harder.
in a way, if I go this way, right, I've got more chance of landing on this. Whereas
that one's a bit easier.
Is a much smaller. So
Yeah.
I think in terms of risk versus reward, they have it.
Yeah.
I think it could be a lot.
I think they've got it, but they could have done a lot more with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I think that's and actually having more complex levels. And I suppose that may have got tiresome, trying to get through them. But you could have put more hearts in them to make it possible. I think that might have helped.
Or even
so
this is the thing, right? We keep talking about it in terms of par and things like that. If we had par, we wouldn't need the hearts, because then it would just be how many attempts does it take you. So it feels to me like they're encouraging us to play safer rather than riskier.
Yeah.
Because there's no metric for how long or how many shots we take that we can see. So I should always be picking the safest possible shots and just inching my way to safety.
Yeah. So in terms of the goals, risks and rewards, we know what the ultimate goal is, but we're not really sure about how we're being measured and how we achieve that. So there's some ambiguity over the goal. And in terms of the risks and rewards, there are some alternative paths. They do seem to have some different risks and rewards in them, but because of the ambiguity around the goal, it's not always clear which one we would necessarily take. And they're not as complex or as developed as we perhaps would like to see, right? So a pass would be a limited set of goals, risks and rewards, and satisfactory would be a coherent set. And good would be clear. So I don't think we're at the good level. So the really question is, do we think we've got a coherent set, or is there enough here for that, or do we think it's more of a limited set?
I think there's a coherent set. It's maybe, again, this is maybe down to the information design, or I guess just the design in general of what are they trying to encourage us to do versus what are the levels encouraging us to do versus what would the scoring system encourage us to do versus what would be most fun. I'm going to skip that level. What level was that? Is that level 4? There we go.
So looking at the levels, this is a bit more of a developed level, isn't it? But again, I wish the paths were a bit more obvious. Thinking about the pacing and these levels and how they fit together, we're looking for tension rising over time, preferably with some kind of coherent pattern that feels well balanced and is rewarding. What do you feel about that?
So within each level, I don't feel like the levels get harder as they go on. There's some kind of inherent tension purely in the if the closer I am to the end of a level, the fewer hearts I'm likely to have, and the more tense I'm going to be to try and get just that bit further.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the levels themselves are relatively like the end of this level doesn't look much more challenging than the start.
Yeah. But between the levels, they're getting more complex, right? And you're also getting further to go, and the shots are getting a bit more difficult.
I was going to say, I don't know how much more complex they're getting.
Little, I think.
I think that, again, goes back to what you were saying about there's not a huge amount of additional mechanics to show off. So once we've seen the first level, all the other levels are the same as that, but more.
Yeah. So in terms of the criteria, a pass would be tension somewhat rises over time, and I think they're there. A satisfactory will be that tension clearly rises over time. I'm not quite so convinced about that. It feels like you said that it feels like there is a sort of built-in rising tension, but other than the size of the levels getting this, there's not much else.
Like I found level 4 a lot easier than level 3.
Yeah.
Although, there is that like inbuilt tension because right now I'm on my last shot and my last heart. So, yeah.
So, okay. Can you remember the tutorial?
I can go back to it. I just want to see what the last level looks like. See, this doesn't look complex to me. Like this, it's It's more complex in that there are
we've got-
more jumps and the platforms
Yeah.
are smaller.
It feels to me you're starting to get some options. You've actually got a choice there. Like, are you going to do one big jump, or are you going to do a series of little jumps?
I don't know if I do have the
So,
choice
yeah.
because I don't think I have the power to make that. I can't judge if I have the power or not to make. Like, I can barely make that jump, so it's not like I could try and take a shortcut.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
I'm going to throw myself
tutorial.
into the void and we can have a look at the tutorial. So overall, I mean, the tutorial boiled down to a lot of text to set the scene and to sort of give us an idea of what the goal was, and then just a little animation of a mouse saying click and drag, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
admittedly,
all front loaded.
it was complete enough to tell us all of the mechanics. There just aren't that many mechanics to tutorialize. Let's go
Well,
back.
yes, but you know, they could have introduced them. So, you know, we could have had a level without space stations where
True.
they just we learn about moving between the planets. We could have had something with collectibles. We could have had something which introduced space stations. So they could, even with the limited set that they've got, they could have definitely developed it further. So so this is an interesting one. So
That's very nice.
we really tried to emphasize. Yeah.
The animation, like, you know, shows you what you should do, and then once you do it, it disappears. That's kind of nice.
Yeah. So I think our problem here is that what we were really trying to get them to do was to introduce elements and explain as you went along, right?
And
So,
use
for
the
example,
design
a
of the level
pass-
to do it. So, for example,
yeah,
a spot
at
where
the
you
top,
have
yeah.
to get this power up to be able to make the next jump, because then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here I could perfectly avoid all of these stations. Whereas if they'd put it so that I went down this path and then the next one happened to be a station, and then there was a bigger gap, that would teach that aspect through the level design rather than just having to remember what that text said right at the beginning. Actually, no, hang on. They do have like a little tooltip pop up when I encounter the space station for the first time. It's just quite small and goes by quite quickly.
Yes, you're right. Actually, it's
So-
very, very small. Okay, so look, a pass would be gradual explanation of gameplay and controls revealed as you play. Right. Whereas poor would be some explanation of gameplay and controls. And it feels to me that poor is a bit harsh because they actually do explain the gameplay and controls, but it's just all front loaded.
Well,
Plus,
except for
as you
these
pointed out,
bits.
you've got that one little tooltip.
Yeah. So they technically do it like over the course of play. They just haven't done it as effectively as they could have, like by doing it through level design, like we suggested.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
So a pass is revealed as you play, and a satisfactory is aligned with play. It still feels more like a pass to me. It feels like there's a lot of stuff up front. They're revealing a few extra things as you go along, but they're certainly not doing it as part of the level design, and it doesn't feel to me like the levels are leading you through. It doesn't feel like it's aligned with play particularly well. It just feels like, you happen to have found the thing here and we'll pop it up and say what it is.
yeah. So I got three stars or hexagons. Yeah, on this level, and I don't know why.
No.
Which goes back to the goal, I think, because I didn't end with 3 hearts, so it's probably not that.
So what do you think the core dynamic is?
Ooh, spatial reasoning. I've got a space. I've got some tools to get myself to the other end of that space.
You're reasoning
I'm
about that space.
I'm literally in space.
Yeah. So yeah, they went for spatial reasoning because the player has to consider the map and plan their route according to successfully land on platforms and collect the power-ups.
I think.
Yeah, I've got some bigger platforms and more difficult jumps, etc.
I think I've hit a slight bug here. Give me 2 seconds and I'll just restart.
Okay.
Okie doke, and we're back. Let's go back to level 5.
So
and take a look at that.
they also said about level 5. It's the last level, and it's laid out at the beginning, so you have to follow a specific path, and you end up landing on a power-up, and you have to then decide where to jump very carefully, because you only give you 2 jumps with extra power.
Oh, interesting. So there is some extra sort of mechanical features right at the end, which is an interesting way to do it. I maybe would have.
Is that on the screen? I can't see. Is that the power up on that little station? Or?
So here we've got the path that they were talking about. I guess it's this thing here.
I don't
know if I'm going to be able to get there and see it.
Also, I noticed by the look of it that big heart is an extra jump that you have to jump to and then come back again.
Yeah.
So that is an example of the kind of the sort of choice thing we were talking about.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
And they also say there's a secondary dynamic of survival because you have a limited number of lives.
I disagree.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think that's a misunderstanding of what survival is. Survival is about lasting for a certain amount of time or resources or something.
Yeah, lasting for as long as possible against rising odds. I mean, the other thing about core dynamics is although they're achieved mechanically, they're also about the feel of the game. Does it feel like a survival game? And they were right with their first one. This definitely feels like a spatial reasoner. So, if we were to look at the criteria, satisfactory would be clear core dynamic that is partially supported by the primary mechanics. And a good would be a clear core dynamic that is supported by the primary mechanics. And the difference to an excellent was we're looking for an integrated set of mechanics. I kind of feel like we perhaps don't have enough for an integrated set of mechanics. So do you feel that there's enough going on here that we could say, yes, there's a clear core dynamic here, the spatial reasoning, and it's supported by the primary mechanics that they have?
I think that's it's clearly supported by the primary mechanics. It's just there's quite a limited set of those mechanics. We were definitely able to identify it as, yes, spatial reasoning is what they're going for, because that's what we're doing. So I think we could probably say that it's that, although it's on the edge, isn't it? I mean, we could. I mean, so what mechanics they've got? They've got obviously the main mechanic of firing the ship, and then you've got the health that you pick up. You've got the jump power up. And you've got the space stations. Is that right? Yeah, and the space station jump power up potentially unlocks more movement paths, but the level design doesn't always seem to support that.
Yeah. So okay, I think we'll put that as a good.
Okay.
Because they there's nothing here that isn't supporting the spatial reasoner.
There's definitely nothing.
The problem here is that it's a little underdeveloped, right? That's the problem we're having.
Yeah, it's not as though they have a mechanic that is working against it. It's just not.
Yeah.
Okay, which takes us to feedback.
Takes us to their feedback. So their feedback, they said, one of the things was don't put too much in the tutorial because it will get forgotten, especially if it's only needed towards the end. So they included instructions for basic movement, and if further explanation is needed, they had a separate pop-up to give players the information they needed. So we did see that. We just wanted more of it, right? We wanted a bit more complexity later in the game. But yeah, I think that kind of worked. And they were also told to choose a specific core dynamic because the current one was too ambiguous. They don't say what they thought it was, unfortunately. And then they said, well, we tried to focus on spatial reasoning, and we included multiple paths. So the problem there is they don't say, there's no explanation really of what they did.
Yeah.
So what's changed? What did they do originally? What has changed? So I think that's one we just have to set aside because it's not clear. The third one is they wanted to explore different movement mechanics to implement into the game. And they looked at 3 options and researched them. So moving gauge, using the keyboard, and using the mouse to drag. That's not really feedback. I think they're describing some of their design process there.
I vaguely remember speaking to them in some of the lab sessions, and that was definitely one of the things we talked about. But it was not. It wasn't feedback in the same sense as some of the design feedback.
Yeah.
But I think it was still a thing worth considering.
So then they said there's general gameplay feedback, so play testing basically to increase sensitivity, added the mini map, made some levels harder, that kind of stuff.
I am still not sure.
But
what
again,
the map... I mean, I guess there's. Well,
they wanted to show players how far through the level they were, and also to enable them to plan a route.
You know what? I'll accept that. Actually, I think
yeah.
that's. Like, knowing how far I am is quite good, although I think the only reason I can tell how far I am is because I can see the hearts showing up on the screen, not me, so maybe they could have made that a little bit clearer, but otherwise, that's...
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was bad.
And they also said they were told or asked to provide an option for the player to skip the tutorial if they played before, so they've done that. So, I mean, I think... So satisfactory would be feedback was addressed and the changes have been somewhat successful. And I'm thinking that's probably where they are. And my reasoning is that they were told to do this with the tutorial to try and spread it out, and they've done it a little bit. And I think it saved them when we were discussing the tutorial that they've done that. But they could have done it a lot more, right? And they could have done it a lot more cleverly through their level design and through more granular progression. Right? And some of the other things they're talking about here feel really minor, but they're not, they're kind of, we tweak things in playtesting, or they're talking about the kind of design rationale. So the other thing they talked about that you picked up on there was the mini map, and again, it sort of works, but it's not 100% successful because really the levels don't have that many different paths through the level. They're not that obvious, and also it's very difficult to see where you are. So I think feedback was addressed, changes have been somewhat successful, is probably the best.
Yeah, I think that sounds
best reflection of what they've done. Right, okay. Yeah, interesting game, kind of. And again, it feels to me that actually although we've said a little bit about wanting a bit more complexity with the mechanics, even with the mechanics they have, they could have done a little bit more with the level design in order to take advantage of what they've got and make it a stronger game.
Yeah, although I think there's like a solid foundation here, so there's definitely like you say, something like a nice base to sort of base those further extensions on.
Absolutely, yeah. Right, shall we move on to
I think that's our last game for this batch.
Oh, you're right. Well, in that case, we will see you again in the next video.
Cool, thank you very much, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.